Hello, my name is Gail Whitmore. I was born in Glasgow, Scotland, but raised in New York City, and accidentally moved to the Czech Republic, to Prague, 20 years ago. I started my activism when I was 12, focused on animal rights and veganism, and I have been working in the field of mental health care as a volunteer and as a professional for about 35 years. So, for the last 20 years, I've been the only provider of nonstop crisis intervention in English for the whole country. I have a spinal cord lesion, so I've been disabled my whole life, but I only stopped being able to walk 7 years ago, and we're not entirely sure why. But in 2001, I had an experience that completely changed my life. We got tickets to the play The Vagina Monologues by Eve Ensler, who now goes by V. That's how I will refer to her from now on. And this was during a time where I was dealing with my own issues surrounding sexual assault and coming to terms with that personally and privately. And went to see the play, and it was at Madison Square Garden. It was a huge event. Oprah was there, Jane Fonda was there, Julia Stiles was there, Glenn Close was there, and they were all performing pieces from it. And at the end of it, V said, if there's anybody here who's ever been victimized or affected by domestic violence, sexual violence, stand up and be recognized for surviving, be recognized and honored for what you've been through. And I just sat there and I'm like, no, I can't stand up. I can't stand up. No, like, because that's not me. I'm like, but it is me. I'm like, oh God. And then suddenly before I could do it, it's like my body took over and I just stood up. And one of my best friends was sitting behind me, and she told me later, she's like, I was so surprised. Like, why is Gail standing up? And I stood up and I was just crying. And then V said, if there's anybody here who's been the support system for someone who's gone through domestic violence or sexual violence, stand up and be honored for that, because we need you, and you're the people we turn to. And my boyfriend at the time, who had just been absolutely wonderful, he stood. I looked around Madison Square Garden and almost everybody was standing. And that is 30,000 people. And that's when it hit me. I was like, this isn't just a subject about me. And unfortunately, most of my female friends and a number of my male friends, this is an epidemic. That was in 2001. Fast forward to 2009, and I'm watching one of V's videos, and I decided to go onto the website for V-Day. V stands for Victory, Valentine, and Vagina. I logged on to the website, and it said, if you would like to start a V-Day in your community, click here. And again, my body took over, and here's me, click. And then immediately it's like, oh shit. My partner, the next day, he's like, you did what now? I'm like, yeah. So I'm going to start a V-Day here. He's like, okay, so in other words, you're going to put on a production where you have to talk about the most triggering thing for you. I'm like, yes. He's like, how are you going to do that? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm going to do it. 2012, I decided to do the Vagina Monologues. But this time, I had some help. The group, the Prague Film and Theater Center, they wanted to collaborate. And I thought, collaborate, this is what I need. And I need to delegate, because running it all on my own was just really too much. So we decided to do our own translation. And it's the first bilingual production of the play in the Czech Republic. We ended up getting 70 volunteers from over 40 countries. It was extraordinary. And at the end, I stepped forward and I said, I am a survivor of numerous sexual assaults against my body since I was a child. And that was so hard to get out. And so some of the cast came and just held me. And then I said, as V said, if any of you would like to be acknowledged for what you've survived, stand. The entire cast stood. So much of the audience stood. And then I asked who were the people, who were the supporters. And again, almost the whole place was standing. In 2012, V decided to create an event called 1 Billion Rising, with 1 in 3 women being beaten or raped in her lifetime. We said, okay, let's have this third of the world have an event. So 1 Billion Rising was going to be a celebration through dance. On the same day, in as many countries that participated, we were going to do the same dance just to celebrate our autonomy, to celebrate our personhood, to celebrate that whatever we've been through, we have survived it. On February 14th of 2013, we did the first 1 Billion Rising in the Czech Republic, but this is the first one in the world. Almost every country in the world participated. So we were running the Prague one, but 3 other cities in the Czech Republic also decided to rise. And it was tremendously, tremendously meaningful. Since then, I've been involved or led a number of risings. So for the last 20 years, I've been the only provider of nonstop crisis intervention in English for the whole country. Usually when I meet the women, we go in, we talk to the police. They are generally very nice. And then come the criminal police, who in my experience are not. And they're a lot more threatening, and there's a lot more of me having to be like, yeah, that's not true. So you don't have to answer that, and a lot of that. And I feel like I really have to be on top of them to make sure the case is going to go forward. And I remember one case in particular, when we were leaving, the woman wanted me to go to the hospital with her. And the policeman's just like, we don't have room in the car for you and your wheelchair. And I'm like, that's fine. I will take a taxi. They're like, well, we're not going to pay for that. I'm like, I never asked you to, and you don't have to. And we went to the main hospital where the police bring rape victims for the rape kit is Podoli. There is like an entrance at the side for disabled, but they parked right in front of the main entrance. And you walk in and there's this giant staircase. I mean, it's like, I don't know how many steps, 13 steps, but it's wide. It's very, very wide. So it's not like you can go up and hold on to the railing. I knew this policeman really was tired of me. I got there, took my wheelchair out of the taxi, and we're at the bottom of the stairs, and he's just looking at me, and he just has a smirk. I'm just like, oh, he's going to see what I'm going to do. So I just picked up my wheelchair, and I walked up the top of the steps, and I looked back at them, and in check, I'm like, are we going? Are we going to do this or not? You know, and physically I can do that. It's really hard. And the thing is, like, for a couple of days afterwards, I'm very much going to pay the price for that. But I am 110% committed that that woman will know I will do anything in my power for you so that you will feel supported, you will feel safe. You know I am not going anywhere as long as you don't want me to. About 3 years ago, I had the honor of being invited to the home of an ambassador here in the Czech Republic to discuss what's going on in feminist circles here. And I had wanted to discuss that there's really no formal procedure when a person is raped. I got a phone call the next day from the consulate of that embassy, and they were like, the ambassador has ordered us to take a meeting with you. Our ambassador wanted us to know how we can help you. I said, invite me to parties, because then I can meet enough of the right people, but also just if you can help me when I get a new call. But I didn't really realize how vital that would be, to be able to go with a woman, and right after she calls me, I can get in touch with an embassy, a lawyer, translator, armed with all this knowledge. I have all this support, and all because these people had an open mind and a willingness to actually do something about the epidemic of rape. That's what I do in my free time.